Matt, your key players didn't play last preseason either, but of course the difference was that nobody played last preseason. You're going against a team week one that played its key players throughout the preseason, so there's some open debate on what's best. Are you concerned at all about going against a team that has had some run in the preseason?
No, I'm not really concerned. I'm more concerned about how we prepare and the plan that we put together and our guys knowing that plan inside and out. That's where my concerns lie.
Can you tell us who your captains are? Yeah.
I will tell you guys tomorrow. We still have not announced that to the football team yet. So once we do, you guys will know. You guys will probably know before tomorrow.
Matt, Devontae Adams said yesterday that the veterans had like a leadership panel and talked to these younger guys. I mean, I thought that was interesting to hear. Does that speak volume to these veterans on this team that they're determined to meet their goal and to get over that hump and go to the big game?
Well, yeah, I think it speaks to the leadership, no doubt about it. And that's something that was suggested by the team. Aaron came and talked to me about it, and I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And I was not in that meeting. However, I thought that was the feedback that I received was that it was really beneficial for those young guys. And I think that's pretty indicative of a player-led team, and that's what we're trying to get here.
Yesterday, you're talking to Jerry Gray, he talked about Sean Payton, man, doesn't care whether he was at the Cowboys or the Saints, he takes the ball down the field. And I think the Saints have actually won more regular season games in the last 4 years than any other team. What do you think about Sean as a coach in his career, what he's done in New Orleans?
Well, I think he's one of the best in the league, and you know, you could put him up with the best who've ever done it. And so a guy that obviously is, they always perform, and it doesn't seem like it matters who's in there at quarterback. They produce. Teddy Bridgewater's there, and they won a lot of games with Teddy, and so they are the model of consistency since Sean's been there, and it'll be a great challenge for our football team.
How did Zedarius get through practice yesterday, and what is the outlook for today?
Yeah, Z did a nice job. He was very limited, and we'll see what he can handle today and how he progresses through. But I think it's, you know, he's taken the steps in the right direction to hopefully be able to suit up on Sunday and be able to contribute.
You kept quite a few guys out last season for precautionary because it's a long year. Is that tempting with Z? I mean, he didn't have any training camp, and he's just back this week. Is that tempting to do with him since it is a long season?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certainly we know it's, you know, every game is so important in this league. However, it is a marathon and it's a long season, so we would never want to jeopardize the long term for the short term.
I know game shape is game shape, but is he in good shape?
Yeah, he seemed like it, but you know, again, it's you got to go out there and prove it on a daily basis. And so, as far as where is he at and how many plays could he contribute, you know, I can't answer that right now.
Matt, last night Jerry Montgomery mentioned that this is the first year the assistants or the position guys got the green light to let the undrafted guys or maybe some of the bubble guys know that they made the team, and he got to make that call to Jack. I was just wondering, where did that idea come from, and just how cool is that, though, that, you know, a coach is able to sort of share that moment with a guy he worked quite a bit with?
Yeah, that came from Goody. He suggested that, and I thought it was an outstanding idea, and I think that is a pretty meaningful moment for the player and the coach. But yeah, that came from him.
As an offensive coach, and now a head coach, how do you touch base with your defensive guys? Do you sit in their meetings from time to time, or you kind of make time, figure out a way to connect with those guys?
That's always the challenge. I think it's so important, and you got to use every moment you're in the building to try to connect with guys. And certainly there's moments in pre-practice. I usually spend most of the time kind of going through the defensive side, and then also during practice, you know, just try to get around the guys as much as possible. But it's hard to really kind of sit and spend a lot of time in the defensive meetings, especially being the play caller. I think if you're not the play caller, that provides you a little bit more of that opportunity. But when you are the play caller, I think it's so important to be a part of the offensive meetings.
Marcedes Lewis being 37, I think that he's the oldest tight end in the league. What can you say about him and just his willingness to compete each week and want to keep on doing better?
Yeah, they don't make too many like Mercedes, and I mean that in the highest regard. Just as a person, as a player, as a leader, you know, he excels at everything we ask him to do. I think he's a pro's pro, and I can't even articulate what he means to this football team and just our success here as an organization.
Speaking of that, obviously players like Mercedes, have you had a team that has this much leadership like that goes beyond kind of the game? You know, random top type, but you know, Mercedes, Aaron, all these guys.
Well, it's interesting. So when we voted for captains, we had 27 different players receive at least one vote, which is that's incredible to think that you have that many guys that are in consideration. I think that's pretty rare, and we are a pretty veteran team, but even some of our young guys that, you know, you can tell are going to become great leaders. That is awesome to be a part of, and you know, it's certainly when we talk about the captains, there was a lot of guys that had more than 10 votes. I think that we had 10 players that got more than 10 votes. So I just think that speaks to the locker room and the character that we have, you know, in this building.
So does that mean you're not doing just one on each unit anymore? Well,
Stay tuned. Stay tuned,
You want to say
Matt.
how many?
I personally, whether you're a captain or not, I don't think that necessarily, just because you're not doesn't make you not a leader, you know. And there's many different ways to lead. So we'll rely on all those guys, and we're fortunate to have so many guys that are great leaders, whether they wear a C on their jersey or not.
All right, let's go to Zoom. Sarah, go ahead.
Yep. We just have two in here. Aaron, you go ahead.
Coach, I know you're not obsessively monitoring Twitter, but the online world is very excited for the NFL to return tonight. Do you have any special plans to watch the Cowboys and the Buccaneers? Do you get geeked up for the start of football season, or is it just another game, just another night?
No, we're really excited about it. But to say that I have any special plans, I want to make sure our plan's nice and tight. So that's where my focus will be. And whenever we're done and out of the building, then I'll go home. And if it's early enough to catch part of the game, I'm sure I'll turn it on.
Then last one, Chris Ross.
Hey Matt, what you said about the captains was really interesting. It made me think of how the players talked about you in your first year and how you created this culture and this chemistry. So when you look at those numbers, which are incredible, that so many guys are receiving votes, how much of that do you think is a credit to the culture that you've created here since you arrived in 2019?
Well, the people create the culture, and certainly you have a vision for what you want it to look like, but ultimately you have to get the right people in the building, and it's a collective effort, and that's a great, it's a great job by our scouts getting the right people in here, our personnel department getting the right people in the building, and then it's a credit to our players for, kind of taking the reins and, trying to do what's right for our football team.